Viewers like you make this program possible. Support your local PBS station.
I'm Julia Child. I'm delighted you came with us tonight for our gala duck dinner. It's a special recipe all our own, which we have christened Designer Duck. You'll see it. Our guest chef tonight is Yves Labbé from La Vieille Maison in Boca Raton, Florida, who's prepared for us a stupendous souffle of crepes. It's a marvelous creation. The wines were brought to us by Paul Draper of the Ridge Vineyards. He's the winemaker there. That's in Santa Cruz, California. And our guests are eating an unusual presentation of mushroom sandwiches made of and served in a loaf of bread. But that's not any more exotic than our first course. Lobster medallions and artichokes, very special, very fresh artichokes, hand-picked by me yesterday. Castroville, famous for one product, artichokes. It wasn't always like this, though. Planting began in 1920 when several Italian immigrants grew artichokes on 20 acres. Today, 10,000 acres are planted. This land is so ideally suited to artichoke growing that Castroville provides 100% of the U.S. commercial crop. I began my tour this morning when field leader John Kolanko showed me what it's like to pick them.
You're new here, huh?
Yes, I am, yes.
Okay, because that one's ripe. It had the stems,
the leaves are coming out.
The leaves are coming out. That plant it's just
and this
ripe.
one here, not ripe.
No, those are young. Those we cut the next time around. We come to
now, where
pick.
do I cut it now? So I'll cut this one.
Below here.
Below there?
Yes. Okay. And then you put it in the basket. There you go.
There. Good.
And then you can cut.
Can I cut that one
yes,
too?
With your hand, you snap it off.
Just snap that off.
Yeah. There you go.
Where'd it go? Did it go in?
You gotta move it a little faster.
Ow. It's pricky.
There you go. No, not that one. That one, that's the wrong one. You cut the wrong one. You have to move a little faster. You won't make no money around here.
There's your knife.
Okay.
Now what?
Okay, Julia, I'll show you how to load.
Okay.
You gotta move a little faster or else you won't make no money here. Okay, climb up the ladder.
Just climb up the ladder.
Yes, climb up the ladder.
There. Heavens, there goes me hat. Arf. I don't seem to get this off.
Maybe you better look for another kind of line of work, Julia.
Oh, no! Well, after this humiliating experience, Tony Leonardini, a third-generation Castroville artichoke grower, told me why artichokes thrive here.
The reason artichokes can grow in the Salinas Valley is the climate, Julia. It's not too hot where they'll turn into a thistle, and it's not too cold where they'll freeze.
Oh, in other words, I couldn't grow them in New England.
You absolutely couldn't grow them in New England.
Now, are these plants raised from seed?
No, they aren't. These very artichoke plants here all came about 60 years ago from Italy.
Really?
Root stock.
Really?
And they've been split and divided up from original 20 acres to roughly 10,000 acres today.
Gosh, 10,000. Now, for my recipe, I want artichoke bottoms. And do you have any special way of doing them?
Well, in Castroville, we'll trim out the outside leaves until we see a little bit of yellow.
Yeah. That's about the way they do it in the French way, too. No.
And we cut it down.
Those are so tender and nice.
And we take the choke out of the center.
Yeah.
And it makes a cup
Yeah.
that your stuffing or sauce can go in.
And then you have to cook it.
And then you'd have to cook it.
Oh, that looks very nice. Well, Tony, thanks ever so much. I don't think I'm ever going to make an artichoke picker. I'll just settle for cooking.
Thank you.
That was a nice tip of Tony's. You can hear them when they're fresh, squeaky fresh. That's the kind to buy. Now, for our recipe, we want to have sliced artichoke bottoms with lobster tails. So here's how to turn an artichoke into a bottom. There's your stem. Take a knife and cut that right down close to the bottom. And then take off any of these little leaves that are on the bottom. And now we have the important part of getting the leaf off, because you want to have as much of the artichoke bottom left on the bottom as possible, all that's edible. So bend it back and pull it off. You notice that's the edible portion of that leaf. You do that all around. There, now I've removed all the leaves that surrounded the bottom here, and I can feel the top of the bottom, so just take that and cut it off that top cone of leaves. And there's your choke down in there, that thing. That's inedible. That's the flower of the thistle. And because artichokes discolor very rapidly, rub it with lemon frequently. And now we have this green part here, which you have to very carefully remove. This is picky work, but very important. You want to cut down the green until you come to this tender, creamy yellow part. Use a knife and also use a vegetable peeler until you get it cleaned all the way around. There, look at that. That's beautiful, tender. That's just a lovely artichoke, and it's now ready for cooking. As soon as you pare it, put it into a solution known as a blanc, and that is simply a little mixture of flour, water, lemon juice, and salt, and that's to keep them white while they're cooking. And all they need now is 30 minutes of simmering until when you poke it with a knife, they're tender. Well, let's check. Turn them over bottom side up. Knife goes in easily. They're done. Now it's ready. They're ready to have their chokes removed. Take them over to the sink here and run a little cold water over them. And see, there's that choke, and you just take a little teaspoon and just pull that choke out, and it will reveal the naked bottom. See that? They're all trimmed, and I'm washing it again to get off any little bits of fuzz. See how that's nice and clean there. Now I'm going to slice it on the diagonal with a very thin knife. So I don't want to break it, because they're so tender. And that's what your slices look like. And now I'm going to marinate these in a vinaigrette, which is actually a lemongratte, because I'm going to use lemon juice in it, because I want a very light sauce there. Put in a little bit of, I have some shallots and mustard in there. Now a little bit of olive oil, very, very good oil. Be sure that you use the best quality. Put a little bit of salt in there, and a little pepper. And then in go the slices, and they're going to marinate. They should marinate 10 or 15 minutes while I get to the lobster. These lobsters I boiled today spent last night at Frenchman's Bay on the rocky coast of Maine. I'm just going to use the tails for my first course. And here's a good way to get at the tails. Grab it in both hands and just twist like that. And then break off the little feelers at the end. And then just push the meat through with your finger, and out it comes. Now this little end here I'm not going to use, so I'll take that off. And I'm going to make thin medallions, or little slices, out of the tail meat. There, isn't that nice and neat? Now I want lobster medallions, and then I also have some tomato here. That's fresh, peeled, seeded, juice, chopped tomato, and I want to flavor that up, so I'm going to use a spoonful or two of the vinaigrette that came from my salad of artichokes. Stir that up, and now the only thing I have left to do is to decorate. How How about that for a classy first course? Now let's get to the duck. I think so often when you get a duck at a restaurant, it's terribly disappointing. You have beautifully crisp brown skin, but the duck has been cooked to death so the meat's in shreds, or else the leg meat is tender and the breast is overdone, or else the breast meat is perfect and the leg meat is raw. Well, you can solve this problem, and the way to do it is to separate the duck. Cook the breast in one way and cook the legs in another, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Here's a nice big raw duck. Take your big knife and just slip the skin all the way down the back from neck to tail. Then I'm going to remove the wings very close to the breast. I don't want to lose any of the breast meat there. And then take the leg, lift it by the knee, and cut all the way down to the backbone there, and then up. You're just slitting the skin here. And then bend it back so that you break open the second joints, and then do the same thing on the other side. There, we have the breast. And now, there's a little extra skin in there, so just cut that off. And then you have, at your neck end, up here, you have the wishbone, and you want to take that off because you want to make slicing the breast later easy. And if you have this little wishbone thing in here, that gets in the way of things. Now, with the wishbone removed, you want to lift the skin up off the breast on either side. And the reason for that is after roasting, you're going to take the skin off. And you also, by taking the skin off, you can flavor the meat. So just cut against the skin and not against the meat, and then you won't be cutting the meat. I've bared the breast, but it's attached just along the top of the ridge of the breastbone. Now I'm going to season it. I'm going to put a little bit of, tiny bit of salt on each side, and then a little bit of pepper. Then I'm going to have a little pinch of powdered allspice and a pinch of thyme. Mix them up and put them on each side. Not too much, but just enough. It just gives it a little extra, very nice flavor. Then put the skin back over. You don't even need to tie it. Just fold it around. You can do that way ahead of time, and that's now ready to roast. And I'm now going to take all the skin and the bones out of the legs and the wings. There are two legs, and there's the wing. I'll start on the leg. This is picky work, but you can get all of it done ahead of time, and it makes the most deliciously to eat duck. So just scrape it all down and keep on going. Now with the bones and skin off, I get about 3/4 cup of meat out of that wing, leg, thigh, added to the other duck meat that I have here. I have about 2 1/4 cups, and I'm going to turn that into a mousse into my trusty food processor. I'm going to put in, there is 3/4 cup of heavy cream. And I'm going to put in about 3/4 teaspoon of salt there, and a little bit of allspice and thyme and some pepper, and let her go. And now I'm going to add, I have 1/2 cup of cooked minced onions. I'm going to put that in. Didn't add them before because I don't want them too much pureed. There, all done and ready to be turned into little burgers. I'm going to wet my hands and just turn them, and then I'm going to not shape them into burgers, but like a little shape of little drumsticks. Now that my little burgers are nicely formed, I'm ready to start cooking, and I'm going to begin by roasting the duck breasts. I'm going to put these into a preheated 425 oven, and they're going to roast just for 20 minutes. I want them to remain really very rare. Now there are my breasts all roasted, and I've let them cool enough so I can handle them. Now to slice off the breast meat. And lift up your skin flap. And the breasts have just been cooked enough so that they have taken on a little texture, but they're still rosy red, as you can see. And then as you slice these nice slices, lay them in a buttered pan that has a sprinkling of shallots, and just go on and slice all the breasts up. Now just a little bit of shallot. Doesn't that duck breast meat look beautiful? Just the way it ought to be. Now we're not going to waste a thing with this duck. I've got all this beautiful skin, and I'm going to dice that up, just in little dice like that, and put it in a roasting pan like this and stick it in the 250 oven for about an hour and a half, and that'll turn into cracklings, very tender, and it'll render all its fat. And when that's done, we'll be just about ready to assemble our final dish. Now, about 20 minutes before you're ready to serve, saute your little duck burgers over very low heat. That'll take about 20 minutes, 10 minutes on each side. And meanwhile, you want to reheat your duck breast meat. I'm putting on a little bit of port or Madeira wine to flavor it, and a ladleful or two of duck stock, which is made out of the bones and scraps of the duck, and a little bit of salt, and a little bit of pepper, and you just want that to heat through. Now when that's nicely warmed through, remove it to a hot side dish. And I've got this beautiful liquid in the pan, which I'm going to turn into a sauce. Just boil it up hard until it turns into a syrup. There we are, nicely reduced. I've got a little bit of butter on there, and it's ready to go over the duck. I'm just going to put a nice big spoonful just across the duck like that. And there's a little bit of cracklings. And we're going to serve that with fresh vegetables. Now, on to the dessert.
Ah, voyons voir, ça c'est jaune, ça c'est bon.
Yves Labbé, chef de cuisine at La Vieille Maison restaurant in Boca Raton, Florida. Yves.
Bonjour, madame.
Are you finding everything you want?
It is not often that I find beautiful lemon tree right outside of the kitchen.
Have you got enough?
And madame, this is here all I need.
Alors, let's take you to the kitchen.
And this lemon, I'm going to use to flavor a pastry cream. That pastry cream, we are going to fold it in a meringue. That meringue, we are going to enclose in a crepe. The crepe, we are going to put it in a pool of fresh strawberries. Now, for the lemon. We grate the outer rind, or called zest. Only the yellow part. I'm going to cut that lemon in half. And juice it with the use of that towel. Very simple. Like this. See, no pip go into the bowl. Only the juice. And now for the pastry cream. I'm going to mix in those 6 tablespoons of sugar in those 3 egg yolks and beat them up until they form a ribbon. Okay, now you can see that it folds into a ribbon. This is where you want this mixture to be. I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of flour to that mixture, and I'm going to use a rubber spatula. It's going to be easier to mix that up. Here, we mix, hopla. Voila. And I have that milk which has been brought to a boil. We are going to add a drop, a little more than a drop of vanilla to that. Add some of that milk to loosen up the egg and flour mixture. And yeah, very simple, so that it's easier after to mix. And I'm going to return all that eggs and delicious sugar, the flour in that vanilla and milk. And now, be careful not to scorch, because it scorches very easily. We are going to mix that until it comes to a boil. Okay, you see it's starting to get thick now, that cream. You see, like a pudding now. I'm going to add that lemon and juice and lemon rind to this and mix it again and bring it back to a boil so that it forms like a thick pudding. Now we have, after 2-3 minutes of slow cooking, that beautiful cream is to a pudding-like consistency. I'm going to transfer it to that glass bowl. And set it in another bowl full of water and ice, you see? so that I can cool the cream without forming a skin. Mix once in a while. Okay? And now we go for the strawberry puree. I have 3 cups of them here, which I'm going to blend with those 3/4 cups of sugar until it's a smooth puree. Good. Now for the meringue. Very important step, can only be done when you are ready to serve the dessert. Do not do it before, otherwise your eggs will collapse. I'm going to add a pinch of salt, maybe 2, to the 6 egg whites here, and I'm going to beat them until frothy. Starting there, and a touch of cream of tartar for the staying power of the eggs. Okay, now the eggs white are beaten to a stiff peak, and I'm adding the sugar. That's 9 tablespoons, or half a cup and 1 tablespoon of sugar. And I'm beating that meringue more. See, and start to get shiny. Do you see it's getting a little shiny here? I mix some of the meringue in the pastry cream in order to loosen up that pastry cream, which is fairly stiff, as you see. And I return that meringue and pastry cream mixture to the bowl of meringue, like that. And now I incorporate delicately, not to break the egg whites. Do not beat or mix, just fold. And now we stuff the crepe. Voila. And I fold the half crepe over. Can you see? Half crepe over. Delicious. And I smooth it a little bit with a spatula. You see what it looks like? And now that's it. That's going to cook and puff up. And in the oven, here it goes. And bake at 500 degrees for 6 to 7 minutes. And here we go, Julia, from a devoted admirer.
These fine wines are from the Ridge Vineyards in the Santa Cruz Mountains of California. For the past 14 years, Paul Draper has been the winemaker. Paul, thanks for coming.
Delighted to be here.
Paul, what have you brought us?
Before dinner, with the hors d'oeuvres, I've brought a white Zinfandel. This wine is taken off of the skins of the red grape before we ferment it in order to intensify the rest of the Zinfandels and to give us something that we can use in this position at the table.
And we cannot call it a rosé.
No, rosé would be if you keep it with the skins longer and get more color.
And then do you have another red wine?
Yes, we brought a red wine with the hors d'oeuvres, and this is a Beaujolais-style Zinfandel from Amador County. Very soft and round, and makes a good complement to the white.
We thought it would be a real challenge for you to come up with something for the first course, artichokes and lobster. What did you come up with?
Yes, we had somewhat of a problem. I got the staff together and asked for their suggestions, and I had come up with a couple of the older, finer Zinfandels. And we found them to be too rich and too full. And the Paso Robles in 1977, it was a light vintage, and it's a particular vineyard that gives us good acidity and good clarity of character, and we decided this would go best with the lobster.
That's going to be fun to try.
It will be.
And now, the main course duck. That wasn't so much of a problem, was it?
No, that was the one place where we could breathe easy. I wanted a chance, too, to show off our Montebello Cabernet, which is our estate Cabernet. And I remembered in particular a dinner that we had had where we'd had several orders of Peking duck and nothing but 3 or 4 bottles of 59 Bordeaux from some fine chateaus.
Can we taste it?
Oh, absolutely. This one we have opened.
72,
Please.
That's... That is a wine, but how did you do it in 1972? It was a terrible year. It rained all the time.
We were very fortunate. We're up on top of the mountains, and when the early fogs moved into all of the valley areas, from Napa to Sonoma down to our valley area, we were above that, and the sun rose and warmed the grapes at 6 a.m. We were able to pick these, and we finished picking one day before the torrential and nonstop rains began. So we feel it's one of the most successful examples of the vintage.
Now, what in the world are you going to come up with for dessert? Crepes and strawberries.
With those strawberries, it gave me the opportunity to bring our essence of Zinfandel, which is a sweet, Zinfandel, naturally sweet, with about 13 or 14% sugar, much like a Sauterne, but a red wine, and we felt would go very well with the fruit.
I'm looking forward to every single one of them, Paul. Thank you so much. Dinner is served. This is a rich 72 Cabernet Sauvignon. Well, that was a real meal. Come again next time. This is Julia Child. Bon appetit.